On that day, I realized my sister, Madison, didn't just treat me badly, she intentionally humiliated me in front of everyone. She had meticulously arranged for me to be seated all alone at her wedding reception. I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole, but I was completely frozen in that moment, paralyzed by the shame. I was utterly broken when a complete stranger approached me, pulled up a chair without asking, and leaned in close. He whispered, "You're my date now." You should see the look on your sister's face. You absolutely won't believe what that stranger, a true gentleman, did next. This single encounter completely changed my life and redefined my entire relationship with my own family. Pause briefly, stick with this story until the very end. The final twist is truly unforgettable. Before we dive into the painful details, let me know in the comments which city in the US you're watching from. And please, if you connect with my experience, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The hostility between Madison and me wasn't a phase, it was the entire foundation of our sisterhood. She was the one constantly seeking the spotlight, the pretty one, the one who always managed to charm our parents and friends. I, Clara, was the quiet, slightly artistic sister, always content to be in the background, a role Madison was determined to make permanent. I'll never forget the time I won a major art competition in high school. Instead of celebrating, Madison accidentally spilled an entire glass of red wine on my winning certificate the next day. She simply offered a careless shrug and said, "Oops, guess not everything can be about you, Clara. Some things are just clumsy." That was Madison. She didn't want attention. She wanted to control attention, and she didn't care who she had to dim or hurt to achieve it. When she got engaged to Ben, the heir to the prestigious Thornton real estate empire, her ego didn't just inflate, it became a monstrous entity, hungry for validation. Suddenly, I wasn't just her sister, I was a potential imperfection in her perfect, high society life. Ben's family, the Thorntons, were notoriously elitist and snobbish, and Madison took immense pride in adopting their disdainful attitude towards anyone they deemed below them. The wedding itself was a spectacle of unnecessary extravagance. It was held at the most exclusive venue in the city, the Grand Astoria Ballroom. Every minute detail, from the imported flowers to the three-piece band, screamed unlimited money and elite status. I felt a growing sense of dread, knowing that this entire lavish affair was just another stage for Madison to flaunt her supposed superiority. Despite my reservations, I felt a strong obligation to be there. I spent countless weeks helping with the seating charts, managing the gift registry, and dealing with disorganized vendors, trying my best to be the supportive sister. But Madison ensured every interaction felt like a forced transaction, not a loving bond. She would often dismiss my efforts with a cruel remark. "Clara, this centerpiece design is too cheap. We need something more modern, something that screams Thornton luxury." She would make sure to say it loud enough for Ben's mother, who was always hovering, to hear every single word, ensuring I felt small and my contributions were worthless. The most manipulative part? She intentionally scheduled my appointments and tasks at times that prevented me from seeing my own friends and getting fully prepared for the event. She wanted me to look and feel exhausted and insignificant on her big day. When I arrived at the reception, I was dressed in a simple, elegant gown, something tasteful that I knew wouldn't remotely outshine the bride. I saw my place card at the coveted head table, right next to Ben's older cousin. A wave of temporary relief washed over me. Okay, I thought, at least she granted me the basic dignity of sitting with family. But that small moment of calm lasted exactly until the cocktail hour concluded and dinner was about to be served. The wedding coordinator, a nervous-looking woman whose hands were shaking, approached me with a visibly strained apology. "Ms. Clara? I am truly sorry, but there's been a critical mix-up with the seating chart." Before I could even formulate a response, Madison appeared at her side, wearing her most triumphant, unfeeling smile. "It's entirely my fault, Clara," Madison announced, deliberately loud enough for a nearby cluster of Ben's important business associates to hear. The Huxley family, the most crucial investors in Ben's new venture, decided to attend last minute. We simply can't waste a front row, power seating position on someone who isn't essential to the deal. She spoke without looking at me, focusing entirely on the audience watching our tense exchange. Then came the cruel, calculated stab. She motioned dismissively to a tiny, round table nestled deep in a dark corner, almost hidden behind a towering floral arrangement and alarmingly close to the swinging kitchen doors. "You can sit there, sweetie. It's empty. You'll be comfortable and out of the way." She handed me a card, table 19, reserved. The shame was immediate and physically debilitating. My hands were trembling uncontrollably. I could feel my face flush a deep, painful crimson. To refuse and argue would be to cause the exact scene Madison wanted and prove her right. To silently sit there was to accept my public demotion and my sister's malice. I chose the latter, desperately hoping to just disappear into the shadows. As I took that long, agonizing walk across the vast, glittering ballroom to that secluded table, it felt less like a walk and more like a death march of eternal damnation. Every single I felt like it was boring into me, the lonely sister, cruelly exiled to the overflow or filler table. I sat down, the chair scraping loudly against the polished marble floor, a sound that terrifyingly echoed the total emptiness inside me. The table was pathetically barren. No fancy name cards, no elegant stemware, just cheap water tumblers and a single wilted napkin. I sat there, the only occupant, trying desperately to look busy by staring blankly at my phone. Longer pause, but my mind was a raging torrent of despair. Is this truly what my life has come to? Is this the absolute limit of my own sister's regard for me? The loneliness was a crushing, physical weight pressed hard against my chest. I watched Madison, who looked positively radiant at the main table, occasionally casting a brief, triumphant glance my way, her lips curling into a silent, smug, "I win." I was on the absolute verge of tears, fighting with every ounce of willpower to maintain my composure. I absolutely refused to give her the immense satisfaction of seeing me break down and cry. I just wanted the earth to open up and swallow me whole, right then and there. This agonizing public humiliation continued for what felt like an eternity, probably about 15 agonizing minutes, which were undoubtedly the hardest minutes of my entire life. Longest pause, and then the silence was broken. I was numb, lost in the self-pity and despair, when the entire energy of the room shifted instantly. A sudden, deep hush fell over the entire crowd. I slowly looked up. A man had entered, and I mean the man. He was tall, perfectly sculpted, and impeccably dressed in a bespoke, expensive midnight blue suit with an almost electric aura of effortless authority. He moved with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly who he is and what his immense worth is. He wasn't just a guest, he seemed to be the entire event. Even the most seasoned waiters stopped moving and watched him. He walked past the huge, ornate ice sculpture, past the mingling crowd, and headed straight towards the prestigious family table. I initially assumed he was the mysterious Mr. Huxley himself, finally arriving late. But then, something absolutely bizarre happened. He stopped just short of the family table, surveyed the room for a moment, and his eyes, piercing, focused, and unforgettable, landed directly on me. My heart absolutely leaped into my throat. He then did the completely unthinkable. He entirely bypassed the main head table, walked right past the expectant, nervous faces of the Thorntons, and approached my little table of shame. I was petrified. Was he going to loudly complain that I was in his way? He reached my table, a faint, almost secret, charming smile playing on his lips, and without asking permission, pulled up the chair directly next to mine and sat down. He leaned in close, his voice a low, warm rumble that sent a shocking bolt of adrenaline through me. "Don't panic. Smile. Look completely relaxed." He paused for a brief, dramatic effect. "They're watching every move. And now you're officially my date, Clara. Play along and play it well. Your sister is about to receive a critical lesson she will never forget." My eyes immediately darted to Madison. Her triumphant smile had vanished completely, instantly replaced by a look of sheer, confused bewilderment, mixed with a visible hint of panic. Ben looked equally lost and was sweating visibly. They were now whispering furiously to each other. Who are you really? I managed to stutter, barely moving my lips for fear of being overheard. He picked up my cheap water tumbler, looked at it with obvious disdain, and deliberately put it back down. I'm the person who absolutely cannot stand seeing such blatant injustice, and for the next few hours, I'm your best and most formidable defense. My name is Liam. Now, tell me quickly, do you hate this wallpaper as much as I do? He then spoke clearly, loud enough for the tables immediately around us to hear. Clara, I've been looking all over this massive place for you. I can't believe they stuck you all the way back here. I specifically told Mom you wouldn't be far from the main action. He immediately created a powerful, believable narrative. We were close, he was clearly important, and he was voluntarily choosing the table of shame because of me. The attention had shifted entirely to us, but now it was an attention of intense curiosity and respect, not pity. The whispers around the room restarted, but this time they were noticeably different. They were tinged with awe and confusion. Madison, unable to tolerate being ignored and challenged, finally abandoned the main table and marched towards us, her expression a fragile mask of forced politeness. Excuse me, sir, Madison began, her voice tight and trembling with forced control. You seem to be a bit lost. This table is unfortunately not reserved for you. We have much better seats waiting for you up front with the other key guests. Liam didn't even bother to stand up. He simply looked up at her with a calm, penetrating, icy gaze that made her physically falter. Not reserved? That's truly odd. My seat is right here, next to Clara. We were just catching up. You know, from way back, before all of this. He motioned broadly at the extravagant room. Madison's eyes narrowed dangerously. I truly don't know who you are, but you need to understand that this is a critical seating arrangement. You are disrupting the entire flow of the reception. Ben, seeing the rapidly escalating gravity of the situation, rushed over, his expensive tie noticeably askew. He looked utterly terrified. Excuse my wife, sir. She's incredibly stressed. Let me personally escort you to your proper, reserved table. The Thorntons were expecting you hours ago. Liam looked from Ben to Madison, then back to me, and placed his hand gently, reassuringly, over mine on the table. Longest pause for the climax. You are absolutely correct, Ben, Liam said, his voice dropping into a severe, commanding tone. The Thorntons were expecting me. I am Liam Huxley, the son of the Mr. and Mrs. Huxley. And I am here to personally represent my family's significant interests in your future endeavors. The resulting silence was deafening. Complete, total, terrifying silence. Madison's jaw finally dropped all the way. Her face instantly went from a furious red to a deathly shade of ash. Ben looked utterly ill, like he was about to collapse right there onto the expensive carpet. The very person Madison had so cruelly exiled was now sitting with the single most important person at her entire wedding. The whole ballroom seemed to collectively hold its breath. Liam continued, his voice firm and unwavering, carefully addressing Ben, but staring directly into Madison's now pleading eyes. And as for my seating arrangement, Ben, I choose exactly where I sit. And frankly, seeing how your bride treats her own sister, her own flesh and blood, I choose to sit with the person who has been shown such blatant disrespect. You see, Ben, when I decide to invest millions in a business venture, I look first and foremost for integrity and honesty. And integrity, I believe, begins at home. If you allow your partner to publicly humiliate her own family, what does that truly say about your company's ethics and future trustworthiness? This was the ultimate devastating blow. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Ben's entire multi-million-dollar business deal. Madison, clearly panicked, desperately tried to recover, a desperate, utterly fake smile plastered on her face. Liam, we are so incredibly sorry. I was just joking with Clara. It's our usual silly sister joke, right, Clara? I looked at her, then at Liam, and finally spoke. My voice was steady, perfectly calm, and laced with absolute, undeniable truth. No, Madison. There was absolutely no joke. The tide had turned completely, irrevocably. then immediately went into full-blown damage control, profusely apologizing to Liam. He practically physically shoved Madison away, his intense fear of losing the business deal far outweighing his quickly fading wedding bliss. Liam, however, remained completely unbothered and seated next to me, turning his kind attention back to me as if the entire dramatic scene hadn't even happened. He calmly signaled a waiter and demanded, "We need a completely new table setting here. Bring us the best reserved champagne and every single item from the family table's menu. We are celebrating Clara's unexpected arrival." For the rest of the unforgettable evening, I was treated like the true VIP. The Thorntons, hearing the huge commotion and witnessing the scene, came over and were incredibly charming to Liam and, by clear extension, to me. Madison was forced to watch, simmering with impotent rage from the head table, as her biggest asset, Liam Huxley, devoted all his attention, respect, and time to her insignificant sister. She had to come over multiple times throughout the night, her voice strained and shaky, to offer me a glass of champagne, to offer a groveling, transparently false apology. "Clara, I truly regret my awful words and actions tonight. Please try to understand the immense stress I'm under." I looked her straight in the eye, took the glass, and simply said, "Duly noted, Madison. Duly noted. Enjoy your wedding." I left the wedding early, with Liam gently insisting on personally walking me out to my car. He didn't just save my evening, he taught my sister and her arrogant in-laws a powerful, public lesson about kindness, humility, and the importance of integrity. I gained a genuine, unexpected, and truly wonderful friend, a friend who saw and protected my dignity when my own sister tried to deliberately strip it away. And that is my unforgettable story, the exact moment my sister's malicious attempt at humiliation became my ultimate, unexpected triumph, all thanks to a decisive stranger named Liam. I will never, ever forget that powerful feeling of being completely and utterly redeemed. I'm curious to know, if you were Madison's husband, Ben, what would have been your absolute first move after Liam's stunning revelation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.